There are a few different ways to work with the data that Lifeline collects. And to be clear, we don't send any data to our servers. We actually don't have any servers. Everything is stored locally on your computer. But the data that Lifeline collects for you locally on your computer, you can access that in several ways. The first one is obviously you have your Lifeline here, and you can drag it down so that you get a history view. And this is quite interesting because you can use it to start to see trends. So it's divided by weeks, and if you scroll up, you can start to get an idea of, like, in my case, you can pretty clearly see that I always start around 8 a.m. Or a little bit later, but around that time. I always, the evenings here are pretty clear with a few exceptions, but usually I stop around 6 or 7. You can look at your lunch breaks. There's a bigger break in between here. So this is a really nice visual overview of your life and of your workflow rhythm. And so that's the first way you can use it, just to spot some trends, to dig deeper. If you have a coach, you could even share this with your coach to look at, are you overworked? Are you working too much? But then where it gets more interesting is when you go here to the right. So at the right of every day, you see this info icon. And if you click this info icon, you get this overview. And so here, the first part shows you how many tomatoes you've earned, how many breaks you've taken, the points, etc. Then general, the total screen time, how much of that time was in session and how much time you spent in meetings. And then here, this is based on, these bottom two boxes are based on your session labels. So if you're using session labels, which we explained in the previous video, then you get these two types of categorizations. On the one hand, you get the categorization based on the emoticons you give to your sessions. And on the other hand, you get this time added up based on the text labels you give to your session. So this is very handy. For example, I more or less use the text labels to track projects, project names, and then I use the icons to track different areas and responsibilities I have. This is on a daily basis. Now, if you want to see the totals for the current week that you're in, you can also look at that, and you can also look at the totals for the current month that you're in. Now, if you want to work with this and really add it up and go in more detail, then here's the export icon, and you can use this to export your data to a CSV file. So you can say, if you want to export it, just the data of today, this week, or this month, this year, or your entire history. And you can also indicate whether or not you want to include breaks and whether you want to include untimed activity. So let me do that for, let's say, this week. I will not include breaks and untimed activity. And then I will just put this here on the desktop. So if I open this in Numbers, you can open it in Excel, you can open it in Notion. So now you will have the data here in a spreadsheet, and there's a variety of columns. So the date, of course, also on which weekday it was recorded, which emoticon label it had, the session label, the duration, the number of Pomodoros you earned, the score, whether it was a session or a meeting. So you'll see also meetings here, the start time, the end time, and which rating you gave it, if you gave it a rating. So, this then, of course, you can use to process. Either you can create invoices, you can search it, you can filter out certain things. So this allows you to really, do a weekly review or work with the data and spot certain trends. Then the last thing that you can also do here in the history overview, which is good to know, is that you can collapse the weeks. So if you want to get a bit of a cleaner overview and look at a certain week, you can slowly collapse them. Or if you want to collapse all of them, you just press this icon. So now all my weeks are collapsed, and I can say, okay, I want to go to this one, and then I check out this specific data.